Right now, as you're listening to this, there is something happening in your life, something heavy, something uncertain. Maybe it's something you don't talk about. Maybe it's something you feel alone in. Maybe you've been making dua for relief. Maybe you've been waiting for an answer, for a sign, for something to change. And maybe deep inside you've started to wonder, is Allah even listening? But what if I told you He already answered you? Yes, your burden is already being lifted. You just might not see it yet. Think about this. Has there ever been a time in your life when you felt stuck, broken, or hopeless? A time when you thought things would never get better? But then slowly, quietly, things shifted. A door opened. A weight lifted. An answer came in a way you never expected. That wasn't luck. That wasn't coincidence. That was Allah's mercy unfolding right in front of you. And if it happened before, what makes you think it's not happening right now in this journey? We will uncover the 5 undeniable signs that Allah is already relieving your struggles. And trust me, by the end of this, you won't just believe it, you'll feel it. But before we start, I need you to do something. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes for a moment and consider the greatest burden in your life right now. The thing that keeps you up at night, the thing that weighs on your heart. Because by the time we finish this journey, you might see it differently. However, before we proceed, I need to ask you a question. Have you ever felt as though you are drowning in hardship? If so, you should read what Allah says in the Quran. Yes, I am near. When the supplicant calls on me, I answer, yes, I am near. Allah is nearby, listening, watching, and answering. So why does relief sometimes seem so far away? That's what we're about to discover, because relief doesn't always arrive as we anticipate, and sometimes it begins long before we even realize it. Are you prepared to notice the indicators? Let's start by understanding why burdens exist in the first place and why we encounter suffering before delving into the 5 indicators that Allah is removing your responsibilities. Why is life so challenging at times? In Islam, hardship serves as a test, my buddy. In the Quran, Allah asks us if people believe that they will be left alone because they will not be tested. The straightforward response is that we shall be tested, as Allah assures us that hardship is a natural part of being human. But here's the thing. The Quran reminds us that hardships are not punishments, but rather opportunities for growth. We will undoubtedly test you with fear, hunger, loss of wealth, lives, and fruits. But we will also give you good news. These tests, whether they take the form of fear, hunger, loss, or even disappointment, are not indications of Allah's wrath. Rather, they are opportunities for you to grow. In times of hardship, you become refined. Just as gold is purified by fire, so are your struggles. Allah removes impurities from your soul, polishing it with patience, perseverance, and trust in Him. The more you endure with patience, the more Allah elevates your rank. In fact, sometimes the very hardships you face are gifts that will bring you closer to John, even if you don't see it yet. The strength you didn't know you had. Allah does not burden a soul beyond that it can bear. Have you ever faced something you thought you could never get through? The weight felt unbearable, the path uncertain, and yet here you are still standing. This is a reminder that you are stronger than you think. Allah has equipped you with the strength to overcome what you face. It's like a muscle. Sometimes we don't know how strong we are until we are tested. Think about a time when you felt overwhelmed and you thought you couldn't handle it, and yet despite the odds you made it through. That's strength. That resilience is a sign that Allah's mercy is already at work within you. At this very moment, you have the capacity to overcome anything life throws at you. Allah knows your limits. He knows exactly what you can bear, and He will never allow a test to exceed your ability to handle it. At this point, I want you to pause and reflect deeply on your most trying time in life. What strength did you find within yourself during that time? What did you learn about yourself? We often perceive hardship as something that limits us, but in reality, it's the very thing that helps us discover new depths of strength, patience, and faith. Remember the very burden you are carrying right now. You have the strength to bear it because you were chosen, because you can endure. You are not alone in this. How hardships bring us closer to Allah. When was it easy and life was going well? Or were it during your trials and difficult moments? When life is easy, we tend to forget that we are nothing without Allah's mercy. But in times of hardship, we remember the Prophet, peace be upon him, who said that when Allah loves a servant, He tests him. If you're going through a difficult time, right now remember that Allah is testing you because He loves you, purifying your heart and elevating your rank in this life and the next. If you're honest with yourself, you know the answer. It's during the trials that we often turn to Allah the most. When we have nothing left to rely on but Him, we realize just how dependent we truly are. I want you to take a minute to reflect on what you have learned thus far from your adversity. Has it made you more devoted to Allah? Has it served as a reminder of what is really important? Consider how your heart has been softer and how your prayers have become more earnest. Now that you understand why burdens exist and why hardship is a necessary part of our journey, you can start to recognize the signs that Allah is already relieving your burdens. How your trust in Allah has grown. This hardship is part of the process of refining you. You are not the same person you were before. This transformation, though painful, is leading you towards something beautiful. Before we delve into the signs, let's examine the first indication that Allah's mercy is being revealed in your life. Sign number 1, your du'as feel more powerful. This is a powerful tool that can change everything in your life. Why does hardship strengthen your relationship with Allah? Do we occasionally feel routine when life is easy? Our hearts may not always be completely invested when we ask Allah for what we want, but when the burden of adversity falls on us, something changes. Your du'as become genuine and raw, coming from a place of sincerity and vulnerability that goes far beyond words. In these situations, you're not asking out of habit, but rather out of need. Your heart is exposed, your emotions are genuine, and your faith in Allah is pure. When you have tried everything and been tested to the point where there is nothing left except to turn to Allah, your dua becomes a great force. Allah loves it when His followers call upon Him sincerely, especially when they are struggling. "Peace be upon him," cried the Prophet. When a servant is prostrating, he is the closest to his Lord. Therefore, when you feel the weight of the world, realize that your heart is open and you are more linked to Allah than ever. The Prophet, peace be upon him, also stated that your dua is potent. The core of worship is dua. When we offer dua, we are doing far more than merely pleading for assistance. Rather, we are participating in the most potent act of worship and becoming closer to Allah than anything else can. A lot of people don't realize that every dua you make is heard, regardless of whether it's a prayer for direction, a cry for assistance, or a plea for patience. Dua is the heart's direct route to Allah, and He is constantly listening. When Allah hears your request, sometimes He responds right away, giving you a sense of relief, a sense of peace, or even a tangible answer. Other times, however, Allah's wisdom dictates that the answer comes later or is unexpected, and sometimes Allah delays the answer for your own benefit. For example, if something better is on the way, or if the timing of Allah's mercy is off, He may even remove a calamity instead of saving you from something worse. Do you trust His wisdom? Allah is aware of the optimal course of action for us, including the hidden advantages in the timing. Let's discuss the indications that your dua is being answered even if we might not notice them right now. I want to walk you through a personal dua. How can you know that Allah is already answering your prayers even if you don't see it right away? Together, let's take a moment. Close your eyes, take a deep breath that fills your lungs with air, and release any tension in your body. Then in the quiet of your heart, say a dua to Allah, asking Him for what you need. It might be guidance or relief. Let's sit in silence for a few moments, and as you think back on your dua, trust that Allah has heard you and is aware of your struggles, hopes, and deepest desires. Patience or strength may be something you've been caring for a long time. Don't rush through it. Instead, speak to Allah from the bottom of your heart. Even though you may not see the results right away, have faith that the solution will come. You may be wondering, what if relief has already begun, but I haven't noticed it yet? What if the answers are already in motion and you're just not seeing them because you're too focused on the burden itself? Let's examine this next sign number 2. Unexpected doors begin to open. What if I told you that sometimes Allah's relief comes in ways we don't expect? Sometimes the relief we seek doesn't look like what we think it should. In fact, some of the biggest blessings in our lives come wrapped in what initially appears to be a setback or hardship. Have you ever experienced a time in your life when things seem to be falling apart? Perhaps it was a relationship that ended unexpectedly, or a job that you were sure you'd get but didn't, or a door that slammed shut when you thought you had finally found your way. The surprising ways that Allah provides comfort while you're facing adversity. Whether it was a lost opportunity, a relationship that ended, or a plan that didn't work out at first, it may seem like you're losing something. But in retrospect, didn't it turn out that what you lost was actually a way for something better to enter your life? You may feel like your prayers aren't being answered, that Allah has forgotten you, and that your struggles are endless. But have you ever stopped to think about the possibility that Allah is answering your prayers in ways you haven't yet recognized? Sometimes your greatest blessings may have been the job you didn't get, the relationship that ended, or the door that closed. Even when it's not immediately obvious, Allah has a way of pointing us in the direction of our best interests. If you're currently facing a setback, consider whether this closed door is pointing you in the direction of something bigger, or whether Allah's relief is developing in ways you're not yet aware of. This is the promise of risk sustenance found in the Quran. Let's take a moment to consider a lovely promise found in the Quran. Whomever fears Allah will find a means to escape and receive support from places he could never have imagined. This verse is strong. If you're going through a difficult moment right now, whether it be financially, emotionally, or spiritually, this verse serves as a reminder that help is on the way. Allah promises to guide you through every challenge you encounter and to provide for you in ways you can't even imagine. Have you ever had a situation when you needed something and it just happened to come along at the correct time? An opportunity for employment, a financial boon, a word of encouragement when you were about to give up. These seemingly insignificant times are indications that Allah is keeping His word. Have you ever encountered a difficulty and then discovered an unexpected solution? Did Allah ever provide for you in a way that seemed impossible? Sometimes we fail to notice the little things in life as significant indicators, but they are frequently the very indications that Allah is relieving our worries. An unexpected chance, a surprising resolution, a helpful remark at the appropriate moment. These are divine interventions, not coincidences. Your prayers are being answered by Allah, who is providing for your needs and opening doors for you. Think about instances where something unexpected worked out for you. It could have been a decision you took that ended up being a game changer, or someone who entered your life at the perfect time. These minor occurrences are frequently Allah's covert methods of relieving your burden. Don't write them off as coincidences. They are a necessary component of the plan. Now I want to lead you in a moment of introspection. Let's examine this concept of appreciating Allah's favors in novel ways in more detail. Breathe deeply and let your thoughts to wander to a period of your life when you were having difficulties but later realized the wisdom of what transpired. Consider an instance where you thought you were losing something, but now you see that it was actually helping you get better. Jot down the lessons you took away from that encounter. We've looked at how doors can open unexpectedly and how blessings can appear in unexpected ways. But what if the comfort you seek doesn't result in your situation changing? How did Allah's mercy manifest in your life, even if it wasn't how you anticipated it to? What if you change and that's the true relief? What if Allah is not only directing you through outside events, but is also reshaping your heart and outlook in unexpected ways? Let's examine this concept in the upcoming indication. Additionally, despite your difficulties, you experience inner tranquility while you are in sign number 3. Have you ever had an instance where, even though everything around you remained the same, something inside of you changed? Perhaps your situation didn't get better right away, but all of a sudden, you felt calmer and lighter, as if your burdens had lessened, even slightly. This is a profound sign that Allah is already relieving your burdens, even when you can't see it with your own eyes. The transition from anxiety to trust at times when we encounter difficulties, our hearts are filled with anxiety, the future is uncertain, the present is heavy, and we look for answers and a way out. It may seem like we are sinking under the weight of life's circumstances, but then something changes within you. Slowly but surely, you start to trust more, and the anxiety that once gripped your heart begins to fade. You still face the same problems, but your internal state has changed. You no longer feel the same tightness in your chest or worry that is always on your mind. This change is an indication that Allah is removing the burden from your heart before removing it from your life. The relief may not be immediate or dramatic, and the external circumstances may not change at all, but a profound sense of inner peace begins to blossom within you. True peace enters your heart when you let go of trying to control every aspect of your life and instead submit to Allah's will. Allah states in the Quran that whoever puts his trust in Allah, He will suffice him. At that point, you feel connected to something greater than yourself, and you start to trust that Allah's plan is unfolding exactly as it should. Being tawakkul does not mean being passive. It's about understanding that in the end, Allah determines what you do, and that when you do your part, Allah will take care of the rest. Have you ever tried to control every little detail of a situation only to find that it made things worse? These are the moments when you realize that Allah's plan is far greater than yours. And the moment you let go, you will feel a sense of relief that the worry and constant need to figure things out that you once carried will start to fade. The secret to achieving true serenity is tawakkul. You don't have to do it alone. Instead, you can relax knowing that Allah is in charge, that His mercy is more than you can currently comprehend, and that His intellect is greater than yours. Let's stop for a moment and consider this potent idea of tawakkul. For a brief minute, take a deep breath, feel the air fill your lungs, and visualize the serenity and tranquility it brings. Let go of whatever tension you may be holding on to. Gently, music. You will feel peace when you whisper, Allah is sufficient for me, and He is the best disposer of affairs. Do this with faith in your heart, knowing that Allah is more than capable of taking care of you in that moment. When you start to feel this inner peace, your entire world starts to change. You see things differently, and you no longer feel overburdened by the weight of your struggles. Let this phrase become ingrained in your heart and serve as a reminder that you are never alone in your struggles, and that your trust in Allah is your shield and will bring you peace even when life is challenging. You start to see the little things in your life as significant manifestations of Allah's mercy. How does your perspective shift when you begin to find benefits in even the tiniest things? Let's examine the following indication to understand how profoundly this can change things. When life feels heavy, it's easy to focus on the big picture and wait for something monumental to happen that will finally lift our burdens. However, the truth is that relief doesn't always come as a grand moment. Rather, it often comes as subtle everyday joys, small, quiet blessings that we occasionally overlook. Sign number 4, you notice small blessings more. Miss discovering happiness in the small things. You may notice that you are enjoying the small things as your troubles start to fade. These moments may have seemed insignificant and unnoticed in the midst of larger struggles, but now they feel different and bring comfort, relief, and even happiness that you hadn't fully appreciated before. This change in perspective is an indication that Allah is already relieving your struggles. Whether it's the way the sun feels on your skin in the morning, a stranger's smile, or the taste of your favorite food. Even though you can't see the big picture, your ability to appreciate the little things serves as a reminder that the burden is lessening. These little joys are the times when Allah reminds you that His mercy is present in every aspect of your life. Have you ever noticed a small moment of peace? The power of gratitude in Islam is one of the most effective ways to invite even more relief and blessings into your life. It's not just an emotion, it's a spiritual practice that can change your perspective on life. Allah promises in the Quran that if you are grateful, I will definitely increase your favor. When was the last time you felt true joy in something small? When we focus on the blessings we already have, we invite even more goodness into our lives. It's as if our hearts open up to receive the abundance Allah has planned for us. Being grateful is more than just saying thank you. It's about genuinely feeling thankful for everything Allah has given you, no matter how small. By doing this, you start to notice more blessings in your life. Also, when you are grateful, you are demonstrating your trust in Allah, believing that He has provided what is best for you and will continue to give you even more in return. I would like to lead you in an act of appreciation. Let's take a deep breath. Let your mind relax and concentrate on the blessings in your life, no matter how minor they may seem. List 3 things for which you are currently thankful, whether they are simple, a moment of peace, the warmth of a loved one, or even the ability to hear and see. Take a moment to write them down and consider each one, noting how each blessing, no matter how minor, is a significant indication that Allah's mercy is with you. As you start to recognize the little things in your life, you may discover something profound. The last indication that Allah is relieving your burdens isn't about an external modification. The last and most potent sign is when you recognize that you have changed and that this journey has made you stronger, more patient, and closer to Allah. Let's examine the last sign and learn how this internal transformation is the ultimate relief sign. Number 5. You feel more resilient than previously. There are times when you feel like you're carrying an insurmountable burden as you navigate life's obstacles. But then something changes and you start to realize that the struggle is making you stronger, wiser, and closer to Allah. My friend, is the last indication that your burden is being lifted. In those painful moments when you felt lost or hopeless, you might not have noticed it, but Allah was molding your heart, making you stronger and more resilient, and preparing you for the future with the strength that only comes from hardship. When you think back on the hardships you faced, have you ever realized just how much you've grown? Every hardship you've faced has shaped you and taught you lessons you never would have learned without the struggle. Consider for a moment what lessons you have learned from your challenges and how your faith has developed as a result of them. How have you changed since the beginning? This is a significant indication that Allah is easing your burden. You are not the same person who started this ordeal. Instead, you are stronger, more patient, more trusting of Allah, and more aware of your own fortitude. Look back, see how far you've come. It's easy to get caught up in the stress of the moment, to focus only on what's ahead or what you're still going through. But sometimes the most healing thing you can do is simply look back and see how far you've come. Look at your past struggles and recognize the strength you've gained. Reflect on the challenges you faced and how you overcame them, sometimes not even knowing how, but simply by holding on to Allah. You've made it this far. That's a sign of how strong you are. You may feel like you're still struggling. You might still be in the middle of a challenge, but remember, if you've made it this far, you've already come a long way, and Allah has been with you every step of the way. If you've made it to this point, I want to remind you of something important. Your burden is already lighter. This journey we've taken together has shown you that Allah has been working on your behalf, guiding you, answering your du'as, and strengthening your heart. The burden you once thought would break you is now something you can carry with more ease. So now I ask you, which sign resonated most with you? Was it the unexpected doors opening, the sudden inner peace, or perhaps the growing strength you found in your struggles? Post a comment and tell us what you think. I would be interested in hearing your thoughts, and if you know someone who is going through a difficult time and could benefit from this message, please share it with them. Let them know that they are not alone and that their burden is being lifted, just as yours is. Keep in mind that your hardship is not permanent and that every challenge you encounter is a chance for personal development and cleansing. Even though you can't see it yet, Allah's plan is working out for you. Keep believing that your relief is coming and keep going forward patiently and with confidence. Allah knows what's best for you and will never leave you.